Hey everyone, I'm Dakota,
And I'm Val.
and you're listening to.
That's just it. Hello, my little caramel macchiato child. How are we?
Good morning, how are you? I was not
Good.
ready for that, but I
You
like
weren't,
it.
eh? I thought we were
Mm.
going to be both drinking our drinks when we came on camera, and it was going to be like a Kelly's Corner thing. I was
No,
ready.
I think we both just had drink in our mouth when it started, so that was
Yep.
nice.
Yep. That was good. I bought you time. I was thinking of you.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
How's your week going?
Good. There's a lot to do. And last night I was like, okay, I'm going to start working at 8 o'clock, like work till midnight, do a 4 hour work sprint. And at 8 o'clock, I was dead tired. Like I was in bed. So my list is there. It's existing. I still love what I do. I just lately I can't find the time to do it all. So
Well, you're homeschooling basically right now, and you've got a lot
yes.
going on.
Yes. So that's and I love it. I do, but it's just tough because there's a lot of guilt that lies between like I'm not serving my clients as well as I could be, and then I'm not serving my child as well as I could be. So it's a balance that's not very balanced right now, but it is what it is. It's
Yeah,
just doing what you can, doing what's within your control. So yeah, that's how my week's going. Thanks for
we're in a
asking me.
pandemic. You got to forgive yourself a little bit. I think everyone's kind of
Yes.
struggling. Um,
Yes.
We have office meetings every week at my office, and the two people who run it have kids as well. And I know that they, sometimes have kids popping into the meeting or they got to run off and stuff. So I think
Yes.
every parent is kind of balancing right now.
Yeah. Or they're going to their like 9 to 5 and then they come home and whether it's like grandma or grandpa's with them or they went to daycare, then it's like either catching up. So that's where I find you either take the time and my business might suffer a bit, but Grant's schooling gets done, or I like if you're in a situation where you don't have that flexibility, the schooling suffers, but your business is doing fine. So I'm trying to balance it.
It's a learning curve, I think, for
Learning
you
curve,
and
definitely.
everyone.
Yes. Yes. Which works really well with what we're talking about today, I would say, in our episode 25. Oh,
Yeah, 25.
yes.
That's crazy.
I know. It's so exciting. So, with our episode today, we want to talk about transitioning from being a student or, that's cute, or from like maybe you didn't go to school or high school, but maybe from like that kind of transition to adulthood, I'd say.
Yeah, like student life or a student mindset, even
Hmm.
if you didn't really
Hmm.
go to school, um, and transitioning into all of a sudden you're in the adult world and you have a bunch of expectations and a bunch of things.
Responsibilities.
Yes, I
And you drink
love.
spinach.
Yes, you do drink spinach, or you just straight up load up on sugar in the morning and
Hmm.
coffee.
Yep. Yep.
Two different worlds.
All of the goods. So, what was that like for you? Because I know, like, for me, I really feel like adulting, I don't know, I guess I went to college, but I still lived at home quite a bit because I was driving a lot. Um, and then not like right after, but then I moved in with Travis. So then it was like maintaining a house. And like, what was your journey like?
I remember when I was finishing up my degree, I remember texting my mom and being like, "Yep, I'm almost done. Holy, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with this degree." It was terrifying and
Yeah.
overwhelming and confusing and scary and all of the feels at once. And I remember like just like a month period where I'm like, "Do I want to go travel the world? Do I want to,
Yeah.
what the
COVID.
heck am I going to do?" So
Yes.
that
And
was a lot. I think a lot of people go through it because when I've talked to a couple of people I went to university with,
mhm.
which a lot of them have finished during the pandemic, um, and it's especially right now, it's a lot of feelings and a lot of like, what the heck do I do? Because people can't jump into the workforce, they can't
Mhm.
jump into traveling like a lot of people do after school, they can't jump into all
Yeah.
these things. We're stuck at
We
home.
soul searching. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're forced to look at ourselves, which is it's a different type of soul searching, but I think that there definitely is a piece. There's this crazy pressure that we put on ourselves too. It's like, okay, I got the golden ticket, and now what am I supposed to do? Like this was what I was supposed to check off my list. Now what?
Right.
But if you look at our friend group, it is so varying. Like some of us have kids, some of us have degrees, some of us have our own businesses, some of us like it's just varying in what everyone has done or hasn't done. Like they're purchasing homes or they're still living at home, and there's no good, better, or best. It's just all so different in their journeys. And I think it's cool to see how we change through that. Like you gain a really cool understanding of
Life.
empathy,
Okay.
life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I get what you're saying.
right, because you understand more about what goes on behind the scenes. And I guess it motivates me too to get clearer on what I want, because if I don't fill my life with the things that I want, then it gets filled with the things that I don't want.
Right. And I think when you kind of go through that transition, you're expected to instantly become an adult and instantly know how to do all these things,
Mm-hmm.
and be successful. But I think that pressure is mostly put on ourselves. Like
Yes.
like no one expected me to, as soon as I graduated, to get a full-time job, start
Yeah.
working, have a family and have a house. But that's something that I thought I needed to do as soon as I
Right. You're
graduated.
like, I think, I think by 27 I should be doing this, and by 28, by 20, yeah. But it's so like, however it happens for you, it happens for you, and I think that's the cool part. But it took me a while to get that. Like it
Yeah.
took me a while to be like, oh, my picture won't look like their picture, and that's okay,
And
because it only matters if I'm happy with my picture.
exactly. And it also took me a long time to realize that, when I was like, kind of just fumbling through life and fumbling through
Oh,
being in
good
adulthood.
word.
Yeah. Thank you. It took me a while to realize that most people are also just fumbling through life, kind of, and
Yeah.
fumbling through becoming an adult. People don't just instantly become an adult when they get their degree or when they finish high school or they
Yes.
get their first job. It's a process, and it's okay to, like you said, follow your own
Fumble.
path, take your own time, and
Yeah.
fumble, which is the word of the day.
Yes, and to not compare yourself to others either, but also like take off those, is it the rose-colored glasses that make everything look so perfect? Like everyone is typically trying their best, and that's something that I've been using as a tool, is like just assume everyone is trying their best, or that they don't know any better than what they're doing, and it just creates that level of like, yep, that person was rude, but they were trying their best today, because there's a lot going on behind that door that I don't know of. So it's everyone's trying their best at those points. But I think when you're younger, you look up to those people. You're like, wow, they have a car and they went away on vacation and they, volunteer for this organization and they have 3 kids. Like, how do they do it? But everyone's doing their best. And I think it makes it just that much more important to do the things that you want to do, and try new things. Like say you're working on journaling or going for walks, like try things that feel right for you, because not everything's gonna, like, yoga might not be your savior, but it might be your neighbor's like form of therapy. Like
Right.
it's everyone is so different.
Right. And one thing that this reminded your speech monologue, I'll say monologue, reminded
Monologue.
me of is, when I was younger, I always just thought like adults, I say in brackets, knew the answer to everything,
Mm-hmm.
and knew how to do everything. And I still think that my mind still sometimes thinks that, because sometimes
Mm.
when I'm like, I don't know something, like I don't know how to fix my toilet or fix my stove when it's broken or something, I instantly just, call up my parents and I just assume that they know exactly how to do that.
Like, haven't you had this toilet problem before?
Exactly.
That's Yes, because I think that there are some things that come with life experience, and you
Yeah.
would assume anyone that's owned a home with a toilet for a while can typically help you through it. And then if it's not them, you're calling an expert, which is typically a person at Home Hardware or a plumber that's had experience. And yes, I see what you're saying. Like any bigger problem, I definitely would take to my parents. Like, my car is making this noise. Can you just
Yeah.
drive it and see what you think of it? Like,
But then if they're like, no, I don't know how to fix that, you're gonna have to call someone else. I'm like, what the heck do you mean you don't know
yeah,
how to fix this? You're an
you're
adult.
you're supposed to be my Google, and you're not coming through right
Yeah.
now. Yes, which is interesting. Interesting. So then, do you have that expectation of yourself, that you being an adult, like, does that keep
No.
you?
Right. And I
No.
was thinking about that, like, for yourself as well. Like, you're gonna be that person for Grant soon, and he's gonna call you and be like, how do I do this? And you're gonna have to either figure it out or tell him who to call.
Well, good old Google, YouTube
Yeah.
should be able to tell you. Yeah, which is interesting, because there's those practical questions, but there's also the questions like, do I choose money and stability, or do I follow my joy, my purpose? And it depends on who you ask in that adult role. Like I can remember different adults. I was like just talking about different salaries, and I was like, yeah, like okay, but that didn't connect with me. Like that didn't align with me. It'll be like when a senior advisor tells you how much you can make off of selling something. I'm like, okay, cool, but that's not like, is it the solution for the client? I don't care about my paycheck as much as I probably should. I'm like, does it make sense for them?
I completely agree. I also find myself falling in that hole where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I could get more
Yeah.
money this way, but it's just not what's best. It's not what's gonna help everyone
Yes.
and improve everyone's
Where
lives.
you like, I think you see so many people work backwards from the paycheck. They look at, okay, I can make this much. How am I going to sell it to them? Versus, okay, they need this. This is the puzzle piece.
You said where, but I thought you said word, like you were agreeing with me. I was a little taken aback for a second. I was like, never heard you say that one, but
Ditto.
yeah, I loved it. Okay, before we were starting to record this episode, I was reading a study about transitioning from student to adulthood because,
Mm-hmm.
educated and I like to keep up to date. And it's a study by Harvard Business Review, and I'll put the link in somewhere down below.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone listening wants to read it, but they talked about 3 big hurdles that students go through when they were transitioning to adult life. So I thought we
Okay.
would chat about those really quickly and get your thoughts on them.
Yeah, I like this. Go, go, go.
Okay. The first one is about feedback. So when you're in school, I think my chair is squeaking a
I
lot.
like it. It's good. It is.
Okay, I'll stop. I never sit still, and I'm always
I know. I keep trying to touch things too, and I know Owen said stop touching things. I'm trying.
Yeah, Owen's gonna be mad at me after, but oh well. Anyways, feedback in school, you constantly are getting feedback from your assignments, from your professor,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all like a numeric grade, so you know exactly how well you did. You know if you're doing well, and you know if you're failing, and you know how well you're doing compared to your peers.
That's so true.
Right?
Like ruling ourselves by the report card, but then the
Right.
report card's gone.
Yeah, as soon as you go into adulthood, and you probably notice this when you're working, even when you're a student, like in part-time jobs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that feedback is basically gone. You might get oh, you're doing a good job from your manager every
I
once in a
totally,
while,
yeah, and I totally relied on the words so much.
right? But you don't, you maybe have a performance review every couple of years or whatever it may be, but you're not getting
Yeah,
graded. You're not getting
no.
any sort of,
And,
immediate feedback.
and they, like, I found more so, especially in retail or in any position I had, they would rather address the squeaky wheel. So if you weren't doing well, then because the plants that are growing well don't need extra water and sunlight, but they're like, what is wrong with this dud? And whether it was a negative or a positive experience, you didn't receive. And like out of the love languages, words of affirmation is one of my thing. So I definitely looked for words of affirmation where it's like you're doing great, or like a little note. Yeah.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
leads perfectly into the next point as well. In school, we usually get all of our grades either written down or on the computers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the study was talking about how we don't learn to accept criticism and positive reviews in person. So as soon as you get that job, you're suddenly getting those feedbacks in person. You're getting that good job, or you're getting that this is what you should be doing, not this, or you didn't do
Oh,
well.
so
It's kind of a culture shock a little
how do
bit.
you react to that? Like if you were doing dishes and I said, and I knew a better way and it was more efficient and it cleaned them faster. And I said, hey Dakota, I think you should do it this way. How do you feel inside? Because I get my little wall up and I am in defense mode.
I think it really depends on who asks me. Because if you ask Ryan and if he tells me how to do dishes, I do not react well. I'm like, nope, I'm going to do them my way, please. But I think that if it was, like in a workplace, I would think like maybe my broker of record told me that I
Yes.
was doing dishes incorrectly. I think I might react differently. I think
Yes. Is it because you and Ryan are equals in the household, or is it, and like, is it more respect for the broker of record? Like what?
I would think it's because, going back to the broker of record example, he has the experience, more experience than I do in whatever it is he's telling me to do. So if dishes was a thing that real estate agents did, he would obviously have more experience. So then, I would be more willing to take that criticism. But with Ryan, I think that we have equal experience doing dishes. So
I've been washing dishes as long as you have, boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of vibe that it is. So I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
I've only started being a real estate agent in a pandemic, so getting criticism in person, I haven't really received or positive critique. It's just through email or phone calls right now, so it's kind of hard to gauge.
So easy though, but it's a lot easier to take it over email, I'd say. But I want to be better at receiving criticism, whether it be in the home or in a professional environment, and being like, okay, it's don't hate the messenger, right? Like, what's the lesson? Does it actually feel like it would help me, like, to tone down my emotions?
Right.
And not let them just blind me to be like, whatever, are you doing the dishes? Because I don't see you doing the dishes. That's my original reaction, is I'm like, yeah, hop in here, pal, tag in, because I'm out.
That's literally my reaction to it too. That's
Which
hilarious.
There has to be a healthier way, because then I end up like mad for the night, right? And I know that's not healthy either. I was reading a magazine on it last night, and I was like, I know when I could use this strategy.
Right.
And we're talking about it today. So yes, that makes sense. We go from reading a report card and then your parents sign it, or, I mean, that's going back. And now we're out in the real world where people are like, hey, I didn't like the way you did that. And you're like,
are you kidding? Then you can freaking do it.
Pardon? Yeah. Well then, have at her.
Excuse you.
But that's where we are very my way or the highway, but that's not what I want to be. Like, I want to be collaborative and easy to approach. But I know there are areas that I am not that person.
Look at us. We can improve on that. That's something we can work on in the future.
Areas of growth.
Yes. And then finally, for feedback, it's hard in the working world to compare yourself to others, because in school we get a grade, we know if we did better than our friends or our peers, or we know if we did worse. Maybe in our businesses it's a little easier to tell because we can judge based on our sales or our income.
If you judge off of that for success, then yes.
Correct. Yes.
If you use that as your success skill. But if you did it off of like client service or relationship with clients, I think that's kind of intangible. Unless you brought like your top 5 clients in a room of 10 advisors and they all talk and said, well, so-and-so does this and I really like this, then you maybe, but you're running your own game.
Right. And it's also like your personal success, like how you feel inside. That's impossible to gauge or to grade. That's what I was going for. So I remember like in high school, I think even you and I did it. We would get a test back and we'd be like, oh, I got an 87. What did you get? Like trying to be like.
Totally. Like you would totally compare those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all now. But at the time, it was just like, or like you can remember the reaction when one person in our group didn't have as high of a grade. And it was like, oh, like it.
I'm sorry. Like,
yeah. But now it's like, they probably had their own stuff going on. Maybe they were working more and didn't have time to study as much, or maybe they didn't care about that class. Like,
exactly.
Who cares? But it was definitely used as maybe not like a social indicator, but it was totally a part of our social skills was comparing.
Right. And I also think we used it as, well, personally I did, I don't know if you did, but as a self-motivator. I remember in one of our business classes, you and I had a bet to see who could get a higher grade at the end.
Oh my God.
And I definitely got a much better grade in that class than I would have if we didn't have that bet, because that's probably me being competitive, but I definitely.
So, yes, but you understand that competitive is a good thing for you, where I don't think I'm as competitive. So I guess it's figuring out what motivates you. If you're not competitive, what motivates you? We should do an episode on that. I'll write that down.
Yeah, write that down, note that. But that's a good one, yes. Okay, that is all on feedback. The next one was relationships. So in school, we, for the most part, and this is just super generalizing, we hang out and we interact with people of our own age. We come from similar backgrounds usually. Especially in like high school, we all
Norwich,
live in the same
Ontario.
town. Yeah, exactly. There's very few people in this world that can relate to growing up in Norwich, Ontario.
Right. So yeah, like you're all just branches from the same tree.
Exactly. You're similar in a way. As soon as you get into the working force, suddenly you are mixed in with people of all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different,
Yeah,
whatever you can
stories.
think of,
Kids,
stories.
divorced, single, married, engaged, whatever. Yeah.
And for me, it was, and I still kind of struggle with this because a lot of agents are more experienced. They've been in the business for a lot longer. So it's hard for me to interact with, older people or people
Mm,
who have different backgrounds. So that's definitely something that as soon as I read this in the study, I was like, yes, I definitely relate to that.
yes. See, okay, I see what you mean. I love it depending on who it is you come across, but like I love it because you can like my strategy has always just been ask questions about them. Like find out one thing. Oh, you have kids? Like how many kids do you have? How old are they? Do they have kids? What are they up to? Like to just take that one little door and keep opening more doors because it is hard because typically I don't know like if I was like, oh, did you listen to that new, not that we talk about music like that, but something within our generation, like, or a new movie came out like
Yeah.
Twilight, and say I was
Yeah.
working with a 50-year-old that was like, I'm like, did you watch the Twilight this weekend? We went to the theater, and they'd be like, no. So it's finding common ground without altering who you are, like still being yourself and asking questions and giving that input. Like if they say their kid went to the U of G, I'm like, well, I've got a fellow Griffin bro.
Exactly. I would never say fellow Griffin bro, but I get the
Yeah,
point.
yeah, I would never either. But it's yeah. So and I would say definitely challenging because now when you're in school, the people that were your teachers' ages and with that authority are now your coworkers,
Right.
right? And especially when you're in a field of expertise like real estate, it's sometimes I found it was really I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to say something incorrect and or let people find out that I didn't know the answer. So if we were
Yes.
at like a networking event with all the advisors, I just stayed quiet. But now like I don't know it all again, but if I make a mistake or if there's something to learn, I'm like, can we go back to that? Can you explain that? Because I've
Exactly.
realized there's so much more a wealth of knowledge than they are a judgmental book.
Right. And I think one thing also is important to remember is that, even though they have more experience or may have more knowledge, they're still people and they're still human. So you have
Yes.
that in common with them to connect with, like there's going to be something that you have in common
Yeah,
with
it's
everyone.
just finding what it is, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yes, that makes sense. It's a challenging thing.
And then on the flip side, negative relationships in school, it's very easy to avoid negative relationships. If you find someone in class that you don't like, you just don't
You
sit with
just
them.
you just stayed
If you
away from
have
them.
a professor you don't like, it's for one semester. It's not a
Hmm.
big deal. Um, in the working world, these people you work with them. You can't just avoid them. You can't just avoid your boss. You can't,
I'm just not
any,
going to give you feedback because I don't like you. Yes.
exactly. So it's a bit of a different experience when instead of just avoiding or not letting it affect you, you have to take on that negative relationship, take it on head on. Wow.
Take it. Wow.
Take it head
Yeah.
on.
Like I would say it's typically a longer term duration, so you actually need to face the elephant in the room instead of just avoiding it.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at with
I like
my,
take it on head on better though.
yeah, might be the episode name. We'll
Take
see.
it on head on.
Take it on
So
head
yes,
on.
with those relationships, right? And you nailed them all, but then now you have a coworker that's been there for 30 years and they're not going anywhere and you're not going anywhere anytime soon and you can't stand them.
Yeah, and it's rough. I remember when I first started working at one of my part-time jobs, one of the managers there, I loved the job and I loved everyone I worked with, but me and this manager just did not get along. We were just on very different pages,
Hmm.
and I had to work through that and see some of the positives in this person because I
Yes.
loved working there and I knew I didn't want to leave, and I knew this person was there for a long time and was there to stay. So it took me a couple months, and I was young, so I was not as wise as I am now, but I
Hmm.
definitely can look back and say that I looked at the positives. I found something that I liked about this person and I focused on that, as opposed to
Yes.
just letting that negative control our entire relationship.
Yes, because it very, very quickly can. But I think that's important too, is that you didn't just decide to suffer, you chose to make a difference. You chose to make your brain stronger in terms of choosing something good and focusing on that. Because it's very easy to just be like, I hate this person. I hate this person. I don't want to go anywhere near them. It's like, okay, what can I control in this situation? I can't control the things I hate about them, but I can control how I feel about them.
Right. And comparing that to college, if you hate a professor, you hate the way they're doing things, you can complain about that professor the entire time. You don't have to have a cordial relationship. You just have to get through the class, and then that professor is gone out of your life forever.
Yeah.
It's just not the same in the working world.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Agreed?
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, last one, accountability. In college and university, wherever it may be, you're mostly accountable to yourself.
Yeah, because you can flunk out and your parents don't know until you move back home. There's no phone calls home.
You don't have to go to class ever.
That's right. Nothing. You are a free bird. And when we lived in Hamilton on Norrie Ave, I took personal days all the time.
Exactly. And if you fail an assignment in university, or even if you fail a class, you're probably going to be fine. You're going to get through it.
Yeah. But that's on you. There's no supper time phone call of a person in your household in university.
That was literally nailed on our high school answering machine thing. But if you fail an assignment in the working world, or you fail your job, you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your boss, you're representing your coworkers, you're representing your entire company. You're now accountable to all of them. So if you lose a big client, or if you lose a big deal for whatever it is you may be doing, maybe not so much us, as we work for ourselves mostly,
but nonetheless a reputation for ourselves and how we care for clients. And I think that's where it can be overwhelming and exciting all at the same time if you own it, right? But it can also be like, oh my gosh, it's all on me. But then the exciting side is it's all on me. I get to make this what I want to make it.
Exactly. So I try not focus on the failures that may happen, and kind of focus on the opportunities that it presents myself.
The opportunity of building your own brand or reputation.
Wow, we're making notes today.
Yeah, we are.
Beautiful. But yeah, accountability. It's strange going from just being accountable to yourself and working for yourself and do everything for yourself, to suddenly representing or being accountable to an entire company.
Yeah, and then it's even more like another level when you're your own business, because you have the ability to do what you want, which is amazing, freeing, and dangerous all in the same swoop.
Exactly, because you don't have you don't have a boss breathing down your throat saying, I need
no
this
one's
done
checking
right
in on the paperwork. No one's checking compliance and such for myself, but no one's following up with you on Monday morning or every morning for a team meeting, which would maybe be something good to start. We start our own little morning meeting.
Hold each other accountable. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Let's do it. But we're also accountable, especially for me. I'm accountable to Royal LePage. So every time I'm anywhere in public, I'm representing them.
Yes, that is another side to the reputation. Yeah, they don't want the guy that's going to get drunk wearing the Royal LePage code. And yes, that. Oh, what's the word for celebrities? They have them PR.
Yes.
Public relations.
Yeah.
Right. You are now out there as Royal LePage.
And you're your own public relations consultant. You have to make all those decisions yourself.
Yes. But I think that there is also a side of being human. You don't always have to look like you're going to some sort of a 3-piece suit type deal. And the way that we're doing business is changing too. So I'll say there was an advisor and he was going off about how he was wearing shorts in a grocery store, and one of his clients came up to him and he was just distraught that he ever went out in public looking like that. And I'm like, oh boy, you should see me take my garbage out on Highway 3, because I bet there's clients that drive by. But that's where I'm to each their own, right? Because some advisors and some clients will expect that, but I will show up in what makes me feel comfortable and confident. And if I'm at the grocery store, don't expect me to dress up to go and get those 3 items that I forgot. This is life. This is me. I'm smart. I'm knowledgeable. I love what I do, but
I do semi-monthly newsletters to all my neighbors, and I drop them off. just to introduce myself and say, I'm a realtor in the area. Sorry, there was a fly and it was trying to get in my nose.
Oh my
It was a lot
gosh.
for me to take in. But anyways, I do. So like a lot of my neighbors know who I am. They know my
Yeah.
face,
They
but
hear you yell at your dogs.
that doesn't stop me from taking my dogs on a walk in my sweatpants around the block.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I'm still going to be me.
Yeah, human, right? And I definitely struggled with that when I first started because I was like,
Same.
I'm not this mold. Like, that like grosses me out to put these clothes on again. It was like all my bank outfit. I'm like, that's not me. I looked cute. Don't get me wrong. Looked
Good
good.
looks.
Didn't feel that as good. I didn't feel like myself.
Yeah.
These
I
shoulder
still
pads.
sometimes do dress up though. Especially when I'm
Yes.
like, especially right now because like there's so little opportunity to dress up.
Actually,
As
like
soon as
very
I am
exciting to
meeting,
dress up.
I'm like, yep, jacket,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. You're like, I'm gonna get all done up for this
Yes.
5-minute paperwork signing, but I'm there.
Literally, yep. My clients will tell you that I'm always in a jacket right now, but going forward, once we get into a little bit more regular, I will definitely be toning it down a little bit again.
Yes. Agreed.
Anyways, in conclusion, we talked about a lot of scary things and how hard it is to transition from student life to adult life, but I also want to touch on how important it is, and we've touched on this a little bit, to still enjoy your life and still make time for the things you love.
Yes.
Just because you're suddenly an adult now doesn't mean that you can't do the things you love, even if, they're considered childish.
Yeah, and part of life is like the in between. It's not just having the baby or buying the house. It's the journey in between. And if you're not enjoying that, then how do you expect to be happy when you get to where you want to go?
Exactly. You don't
That's
need to
just
change
it.
as soon as you become an adult. Just live your life, do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. You have one life. It's not that long.
And stay, wow, deep. That
Deep.
hurt. And stay in your own lane. Like as easy as it is to compare, like just you do you. That's what's most important.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got for this week. Do you have anything to add?
No, this feels like a good note.
This does feel like a good
After
note.
you said life is so short. Oh,
yeah.
Gosh. I told Journal
We're all
about
going to
that
die
one.
someday. Wild.
Yeah. Facts.
Word.
That's just it.
That's just it. All right.
All
Stay
right.
fit.
And have fun.
And have fun. Bye, guys.
Bye.